Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
This is a mandatory win on Sunday. The Eagles must leave Landover, Maryland victorious. And it doesn't mean it will be pretty, because reality is it won't be pretty. It'll be a tough game. The offense will stall at times. But I don't care if the Eagles win by 1, 2, 3. I don't care. Win the football game. That's all that matters, because right now the Birds, they control their own destiny. They can't control what happens between the Rams and the Cowboys. All they can control is winning football games. And if they win the rest of their football games, they're in the playoffs. And getting Carson Wentz a playoff game is extremely important to me. And it is extremely important to the fan base and to the organization as well. So take care of business. It won't be pretty. Go into the game knowing that there will be really ugly moments, because that is how it will go. You will be sweating it out at times. You will be pacing around the kitchen. You will be pacing around the basement, screaming, fist pumping towards the television. Know that. Know that. Expectations completely change everything, for the good and for the bad. But if you know going into it that it will be ugly football at times, when it actually happens, you're not as disappointed. Now, there's plenty to talk about with this game. The injuries, the practice squad player that got called up. We will dive more into it. But I need to let you know first that you can get free money. Now, if you use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page, you get $20 off of your total purchase. That $20, that's free parking. Really, that's free parking. So it's a no-brainer to use the promo code BROADS today and get yourself to a game. So let's start with the injuries. We'll start with the Eagles, and Alshon Jeffery has been placed on the IR. His season is over. He's going to need surgery. It's going to be very similar to what we just saw Jalen Mills go through. Now, what does that mean for the future? There's a lot to dive into, and I'm not ready to look at that part of this right now. But with the way Howie reconstructed his contract and next season, how much money he's on the books for, there's a lot to discuss. But as of right now, let's just focus on this game. And with Alshon Jeffery, his season is over. Lane Johnson, out. That's huge. Vaitai will be playing right tackle, and I always think about Brandon Brooks. I do. He finished the game, Brandon Brooks finished the game with Vaitai on the right side against the New York Giants. So hopefully he doesn't feel uncomfortable and have too much stress on him to perform at a high level. But when the whole anxiety thing did happen last time, it was because Lane Johnson was not playing, but the difference was Andre Dillard played the right side. Not that Vaitai is a good right tackle whatsoever, because he's not, but maybe Brandon Brooks feels more comfortable with him there, knowing he at least played snaps on the right side before. But that's concerning, not so much just for Brandon Brooks, but as a whole with Carson Wentz. His record is not good when Lane Johnson is out. Lane Johnson is a huge piece to that offensive line, and it's a big reason why the line is so successful. And it factors into Doug Pederson and the way that he calls the run game. Not that he calls the run game a lot, because he doesn't at all, but maybe it's even worse now that Vaitai is on the right side. Nelson Agholor is questionable. It doesn't seem like he's going to go. Now, that's a totally different story with his whole knee, because it seems as if it's a business decision. It seems as if he's frustrated with Carson Wentz. He's frustrated with where he is this season, knowing it's a contract year. He's thinking to himself, well, I don't want to go back out there, because if I continue to stink, well, then guess what? I'm not going to get paid. And reality is, Nelson Agholor, you're not going to get paid anyway. But I'll tell you what, to me, it seems like he's making a business decision because he doesn't want to go out there and hurt his stock anymore. Well, guess what, dude? Your stock is already done. No one believes that you can actually play. That's reality. You're looking at potentially a prove-it deal in the offseason to another team in this league. You can tell by his body language that he's done and he's out. And you can see the same with Alshon Jeffery when he was playing, and that's why I think it's awesome that the Eagles have some fresh blood at wide receiver right now. We'll touch on that, but let me just finish some of the injuries first. Ronald Darby was questionable after Friday's practice. He's been getting destroyed. He's been getting abused. But here's the alternative. Rasul Douglas playing on the other side of Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills left the game against the Giants injured, but it looks like he's ready to go. He was limited in practice, and then he fully participated in practice on Friday. So if it's Jalen Mills and Rasul Douglas on the other side, those are two guys that have no speed whatsoever. They're not fast. Terry McLaurin is a beast. We've seen him abuse the Eagles early on this season. That concerns me. And it's not as if I feel comfortable with Jim Schwartz because I know he's not going to put safety help over the top, at least not to start. Once Terry McLaurin ends up abusing the DBs a couple times, then he might go that way. But we'll see how it all plays out. But with the cornerbacks, I don't feel comfortable. Whether it's Ronald Darby or Rasul Douglas on the one side, to be honest with you, that's one of my biggest concerns. Stopping him, stopping their speedster. The kid is a legit threat. He's super fun to watch. But it's not going to be fun watching the Eagles DBs chasing him back towards the end zone because they got waxed. Derek Barnett is questionable as well. Vinny Curry stepped up and had a fantastic game. He had 2 sacks. I don't expect Vinny Curry to have that type of production every single week. I would love to see Derek Barnett back, but I don't think that's the difference in winning this game or not. Derek Barnett or Vinny Curry being the guy, that doesn't change if I think the Eagles can win or lose. Listen, I think the Eagles should be able to win this game, right? They should be able to win this game. But they're still not a good team. I'm not sold that they're a good team. But it's just interesting based off of their weapons this week and what we saw at the end of the Giants game that leaves us intrigued, or at least it leaves me intrigued. Because I think that there's spark. And I talked about the new blood at wide receivers. You do have some new blood. I consider Greg Ward still new blood. Because now that Alshon and Nelson Agholor, those two guys, they're somewhat out of the mix. Well, they are out of the mix. Alshon definitely is. As I stated, Nelson Agholor is questionable, but in my opinion, it looks like he's done. So, Greg Ward getting more opportunities and more snaps. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I definitely consider him new blood, okay? He's coming off of a game where he had one really nice catch. I mean, it takes skill to make that sort of catch. I'm still really underwhelmed with him, but he made a really good play that we haven't seen all season long from any of our receivers. Josh Perkins, he was steady. Boston Scott, now he's not a wide receiver, but his ability to make plays happen out of the backfield, okay, yeah, let's see what he can do. And then the call-up from the practice squad, Robert Davis. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know too much about him. But I will say this. There is something to be said about how that game ended in New York. There was a spark. There was some sort of confidence going on with those receivers. Now, when Mac Hollins was here and Alshon was banged up with, who else was out there at the time? A J.J. Arcega-Whiteside that was very limited with not a lot of reps involved. Carson Wentz almost stared down a few guys. Zach Ertz was out there, of course, and Dallas Goedert. He didn't trust some of those players. He wasn't looking at Jordan Matthews and Mac Hollins. He only had a few guys to really target, and he would stare down those guys, and I think that played a factor in what Carson Wentz was early this season. Well, when you look at the guys that I just mentioned who are going to be weapons and skill players in this game, and even when you look back at the back half of that Giants game, he has no alternative. Yeah, he could look at Zach Ertz, but there's no alternative. Those are the guys out there. So it's either you just throw the ball if they're open and you pray and hope, or you're screwed. So I think because that's the only options out there, he was more carefree and said, okay, listen, this is what I got to work with. I'm just going to do it. Instead of overthinking, well, I can't throw it to Mac Hollins. I can't throw it to Jordan Matthews. I can't throw it to these guys. I can only look in certain directions. I don't know if he has that mindset anymore because these players are so raw and so hungry too. I mean, these players are determined, which is awesome to see. These wide receivers and Boston Scott, the running back, they are determined to make the most of their opportunities. So not only does Carson have this carefree mindset because that's his only options out there, they're willing. They're willing to make the play. And when you look at some of the plays Nelson Agholor didn't make and the way Alshon Jeffery looks frustrated, it's almost as if they feel entitled. they're questioning Carson Wentz. Who's this guy throwing me the ball? And it's hurting the flow of the offense. So I'm intrigued by these young players. I'm intrigued by their opportunities and what they're going to make the most out of it. You know, I'm excited to see, are they going to make the play? It comes down to the want to, though. Like, they want to. Nelson Agholor, he didn't want to. Alshon, he didn't really want to. These players, they did. And I haven't even mentioned how Zach Ertz is still in the mix. And Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders. Do they have enough to go in there and win? Am I giving these practice squad guys too much hype based off of a New York Giants game where the Giants have the worst secondary in the league and they stink and they lost 9 games in a row for a reason? Am I overvaluing them? It's possible. It's possible. It could have been lightning in a bottle. We always talk about the Nick Foles run being lightning in a bottle. And to be fair, I don't think that was a wrong statement because look where he is now with Jacksonville. But anyway, could that win last week be lightning in a bottle? An adrenaline rush from these receivers? An adrenaline rush from Carson Wentz? It's possible. It doesn't mean because that happened in New York, those players can put together a full game plan with Doug Pederson that they will execute it perfectly on Sunday in Landover, Maryland. No, it doesn't mean that at all. But I think there's something to be said about these new players finally getting a sniff. And it's not as if when they were out there for the New York Giants game, that it looked bad and it looked ugly, but they found a way. No, Josh Perkins made multiple catches. Greg Ward made multiple catches. He had the drop pass in the end zone, which was frustrating, but he was a factor. Boston Scott, I mean, are you kidding me? He was juking people left and right. He got Jenkins cut. Literally, lost his job. See you later. With that juke he had. Broke his ankles right out of his contract. Now, he's the biggest concern because I hope the Redskins don't go back and look at how effective he was. And realistically, they will do that. But my point is, I'm afraid Doug Pederson is going to try the same exact game plan with Boston Scott, and the Redskins are going to pick it up. Not that the Redskins are the New England Patriots or the Seattle Seahawks or the New Orleans Saints, all right? They're not this great squad right now with fantastic coaching that are known for shutting teams down because they're not. But Boston Scott was so effective, you have to think the opponent will look at why that was so effective and they will look to stop that. Doug Pederson has to come up with a creative game plan. He's very limited, and I understand that. It's not as if Doug Pederson has all these weapons to work with. All right, there's a reason why these players are at where they're at. With that being said, though, I need to see some creativity. There's a difference if Doug Pederson goes into that game and looks outcoached and it looks like this team is screwed with no flow whatsoever compared to if we can at least see the game plan. Okay, Doug, what is your game plan? If it's not executed properly and if it doesn't work out because of the skill on the field, that's different. But if it just looks sloppy because of the lack of preparation and the horrendous game planning from Doug Pederson, it's a totally different story. And you can tell the difference. Just because something is completed or not completed, it doesn't mean that you can't sense the game plan and see what the mindset was for a drive or for that specific play. So it comes down to Doug Pederson trying to be creative with what he has to work with. When was the last time you saw Miles Sanders really have a nice chunk play in the passing game? You really haven't. I want to see him get going. I want to see Boston Scott's ability. He should get more touches than Jay Ajayi. It's going to be the Miles Sanders, Boston Scott duo. Be creative with that. The Redskins have been playing pretty good football. In their last 3 games, they are 2-1. Their last loss, or their last game was a loss in Green Bay, 20-15. So they gave Green Bay a really tough battle. Before that, they won 29-21 against the Carolina Panthers, and they beat the Detroit Lions 19-16. So they have been producing wins over the last few weeks, and they've been playing better football. They're not a team that's just going to lay down and die. And it's a division game, and we know how those always go. My point is this. It's going to be tough knowing what type of talent is at the skill positions. But it shouldn't be an excuse because they have something to play for. They do. They have something to play for. They control their own destiny and they can make the playoffs. And this is coming off of an emotional victory. I had this discussion on 97.3 ESPN with Jeff Mosher and Ryan Rothstein. They thought it would have been better for the Eagles to blow the Giants out and gain confidence that way. I don't disagree with that statement. That is a way to gain confidence. But I think there's value in how it ended. Because it was so emotional, because Carson Wentz was the guy and was the leader and put a couple of drives together. The excitement was unbelievable, and it builds a different vibe in that locker room. I put it in comparison to this. When I played college hockey, if we were supposed to destroy a team that weekend, right? In college hockey, you play Friday, Saturday nights. You go into a building on Friday, and you're playing a team that stinks. And you go down 4-0, and it's the second period. If you win that game 6-4, there's still an excitement level, even though you were supposed to cream that team. If you score 4 goals in the third period and find a way to come back and win, there's still a powerful message and a vibe coming off of that win, even though you were supposed to cream them. That's the feeling I get out of this team and that win. You shouldn't look down upon it because, oh, I can't believe it took an overtime drive to win the game. No. Because Carson has been struggling all year, because these are new weapons that are going to be playing throughout the rest of the season and the way they looked up to Carson was awesome. Because of those reasons, there is momentum with the team. With that being said, though, this team has been inconsistent all season long. So just when they reel you back in, they can easily pull their feet right from underneath you and goodbye. Which probably, knowing how this season has gone, is what's going to happen. There are some things to factor in. The Redskins' defense is respectful. It's not like they are a dumpster fire. But Kerrigan is not playing, and he destroys the Eagles. That's a big-time loss for the Washington Redskins. Will the Eagles be able to execute without him on the field? And Jake Elliott. I think field goals are going to be crucial in this game. It's not like the Eagles score 40 points a game, okay? They're not the Baltimore Ravens. Field goals are going to be big, and Jake Elliott has missed field goals after his big payday. Shocker. What do you know? He's got to get it together. He's going to have to make some kicks, excuse me. Come on. You got paid. Knock him down. Do I feel great about it? I feel like they are going to win. That's what I'll say. I don't know if that means I feel great because as I stated right off the jump, it's not going to be pretty. This is going to be frustrating. It will be close. It comes down to, will they be able to pull away? Will they be able to make those plays? Will these players like Robert Davis, Boston Scott, Josh Perkins, Greg Ward, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, will they be able to do enough? There still is Zach Ertz and a Dallas Goedert and a Miles Sanders out there. But still, you need production out of everyone. Will they be able to? Will Doug put them in the right position? Will Carson Wentz deliver? Will Vitae play good enough? Come on, let's not act like that's not a big loss with Lane Johnson. Will Jim Schwartz dial up the right game plan to stop Terry McLaurin? I think these are all reasonable questions, but if they are answered correctly in favor of the Eagles, they should be able to win this game. It's not like it's a road game. It's really going to be a home game. With the way we travel down there, with the way any team travels there. It's such an embarrassing organization. But we'll see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. I will see you next time.